Hold on. Work right now, hiding to watch this, but I don't know how long it could stay on. Um, Here's the thing. I can't post these lectures in the Discord because every single time I try posting it in the Discord or on a additional software to put into the Discord, I have to like pay extra just to get a big sized file onto it. And the amount of times that we do these recaps, I don't want to have to be paying $5-10 every single time. It's a pain in the ass. So if you could just try your best to be here. I understand it's sometimes unfrequent, but we can donate. That's fucked up. Hey, I'm not asking GS for money. All right, so coming into this week's recap lecture, you guys understood that based off of the conditions, it was an XAMD week. Now, for any of you guys that were confused by this being XAMD and then Friday having its own function as TGIF, which we are going to break into today, which was literally beautiful. It was almost like to the tick 30% retracement, which I actually took my long off of this morning for 30-minute power of 3. But regarding the week, XAMD, understand this. We broke this down based off of news probabilities last recap lecture, where I broke down the understanding that probabilities and the actual functions of given openings, so true week open, weekly open in the weekly power of 3, is what crucial and what technically as a signature and price identifies manipulation and distribution, right? As a retail just methodology, if you're coming into the market and you understand accumulation is going to look like consolidation, manipulation, distribution, they're going to be big expansions opposing or targeting draws on liquidity for the week, right? Understanding that in a pattern recognition what AMD is supposed to look like, you have to understand that news and true opens are a big thing, right? Something that we covered a lot last week is the reason why we were in an XAMD scenario. Even though we didn't create a low of the entire week on our given manipulation day, which was Wednesday's price action, it specifically did something that we needed in order to send us higher. And that was the discount pullback of the entire weekly retrace. Okay, this sent us for our distribution and TGIF to expand up into the 4-hour market maker buy model original consolidation, right? That was our clear draw on liquidity for the entire week. I went over this in YouTube like a million times, right? Our market maker model in the 4-hour, that's our draw on price for the given week. Now, breaking down power of 3s, we were in the last week of the entire 4-week duration for our market maker buy model. This week specifically, no doubt in my mind, ever since Monday, I knew that original consolidation high was the clear draw on price. So narrative wise, you're expecting an open low high close weekly profile. All right, that's just without a doubt your bias is bullish. If you understand from the opening price that we're going to be bullish, anything under the opening price is considered manipulation. It does not need to happen on the actual manipulation day. Okay, understand. Power of 3 and quarterly theory, they are aligned in some ways, such as true week open and weekly open, right? They both need a cracking correlation below the market to send price higher for a bullish narrative. But in ways of XAMD, AMDX, manipulation does not need to fall under the given day that proves the manipulation. It just needs to do something against the market pairing narrative. Okay, if the narrative is bullish and coming into manipulation day, we have a weekly cycle SSMT with our previous day high and sell off into a discount of the entire weekly range. Well, this discount retracement is giving us, or technically smart money, long positions for the remainder of the cycle. Okay, but in power of 3 sense, what are we looking for as clear manipulation, right? We know cracking correlations, manipulation, it's all going to pair together to confirm a reversal. Under every single reversal, high time frame cracking correlation. Now that's where the weekly cycle SSMT came in play, right? During our expansion and our accumulation stage, we were underneath the opening price, technically the weekly open, but also the true week open, right? True week open, weekly open, they're both going to be moving in comparison of power of 3. They're going to open and we're expecting a manipulation under. Now, true week open, we had a slight dip underneath, but the weekly cycle SSMT with YM, we took the previous day's low. That's the prominent cracking correlation that we wanted to see. And understanding the narrative is bullish, I want you guys to think of this in literally every given week, right? If you're coming into a week, you understand the week's going to have a power of 3. That given week is going to have a draw on liquidity for the entire week. Right now, every single week may be different, right? Some conditions are easier to see, some conditions are straightforward. This week, even though it was very high resistance, it was still clear where it wanted to go. And this is something that we had to use as a benefit to us, right? We understand that the draw on liquidity is the original consolidation high from the 4-hour market maker buy model back 3 weeks ago, or it's actually like 4 now. If we understand that's the narrative, we understand that's the clear draw on price, we have to know that every single time the markets are moving, every daily power of 3 needs to align in a bullish narrative. So if we're looking for manipulation on Wednesday, we understand based off of the weekly profile, the draw being up here, we are going to dip lower. Now, where 2 possible range discounts, right? We have a 50% discount retracement of the entire week. But what does that mean for every other day? Even coming into Monday, we understand that on Monday, thinking in the future, Thursday is likely to be bullish if the previous day manipulation is bearish. Now, obviously, this high resistance shit was crazy, but we took the previous day high, right? The majority of the run here was bullish, even though it was very high resistance. So we understand Thursday's bullish, Wednesday bearish. We're likely to get a retrace for TGIF. Now we did, but we also expanded higher because the draw was not met on Thursday, which is kind of beyond me. Like, I actually thought Thursday was going to get up here. I guess it stalled a little bit for Friday. That's entirely fine. As long as the week coming market on close gets up there, that's what I was looking for. We have to understand that in power of 3 terms, true week open and weekly open, this dip underneath, this weekly cycle SSMT, that is exactly what we wanted to see. Now, there are some weeks where we will not have this during our first 2 days of the week, right? You have to understand every single week is different, but they are still going to be moving under the same signatures in price, right? Below or above, depending on narrative for power 3, cracking correlation, prove the reversal. If there was no cracking correlation underneath these lows, as reference, let's just say hypothetically, if there was no cracking correlation during our expansion and accumulation days, that means that the manipulation day is likely to take out these lows. Okay, you have to think of that logically. If manipulation already has previous days that put in a prominent cracking correlation as a weekly cycle SSMT underneath true week, underneath weekly open, this validates that Wednesday is not likely to get down here. Because why would price want to get down here if the damage was already done? Okay, this is how you kind of like refine narrative in a way, is you have to be basing each day off of what is the previous day doing. Well, the previous day had a prominent cracking correlation underneath the given true open prices. That validates that Wednesday is likely to not expand under this low. Because this low, significant low, protected low. Okay? Understanding this, 50% retrace was literally all that we wanted. That is all we needed to send us bullish for the remainder of the original consolidation clear draw on liquidity. Okay? Now, coming into every single day, I understand every single day was a little high resistance. It was very accumulative. I'll be 100% honest. Expansion, which was Monday, and TJIF being today, was probably the only days that played clearly. A lot of other days, such as Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, as they were high resistance, they still showed signatures in price, and they still ideally did things that I wanted to see, just not so much as in tradable, right? Because I didn't press a single button on Tuesday or Thursday. I did lose a tiny bit on Wednesday, but Monday and TGIF made up for everything, right? I did very good on those days. But coming into these days, understanding their high resistance, okay, one thing I want you guys to reference to a lot, this is something I've been talking about like a shitload in my mentorship with all the private students, is ranges. Now, I'm not going to break down 100% about the ranges, as it obviously it's for my private students, but what I want you guys to use and utilize is how every single day sets up based off of the previous day's range. Okay? Understand ranges, premium discount, OTE, quarters. Break that down. Okay? And I want you guys to understand that every single time there's a new day of Power of 3, it is always going to be referencing to the previous day's Power of 3. Okay? Such as this. As you can see, Wednesday, before we shot down into the previous day's range, or technically the week's range, we had a Kraken correlation at the highs. So look for that in your prices every single day. Between each daily Power of 3, look for a Kraken correlation. Because every single day will be moving from the previous. Meaning, if there's going to be an expansion lower on Wednesday due to manipulation, it's only going to expand lower once there's a technically desynchronization or a Kraken correlation with the previous day. Only. And if there isn't, that's going to get, turtle souped or stop hunted. Okay? Look at Thursday. Selling off on Thursday. Now, a lot of people thought bullish, so as myself. I actually did not press a single button on Thursday, technically yesterday. But we still did the exact same thing. We came into a discount of our previous Power of 3 range, and what confirmed it is the hidden SSMT, the weekly cycle hidden SSMT. Understand, every single day we'll do this. Every single day in a prominent expansion move, unless it's obviously like consolidating, like accumulation stages or such, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about LR conditions, such as manipulation distribution. Pair it with the previous day's range. If we're likely to expand lower given manipulation, we are not going to expand lower until we have a divergence with our previous day. Okay? Distribution. Even though it was very high resistance, it still had the Kraken correlation given the expected low resistance, because we did have red news on Thursday. Okay? Same thing technically here. Even though this was accumulation, we're sending above because we have the Kraken correlation with our previous day. And we're expanding above the previous Power of 3's high, right? The previous Power of 3 high, the high or the previous day, right? These are clear, significant highs in the market. But markets is not going to send above these until we have a Kraken correlation with our previous day. That's exactly what we had here, which was significant because it was underneath our given opening prices. All right. Let me read some things in the comment. Give me a second. Snow, do you think that the consolidation we are looking at right now is starting another MMXM? So we are I'm going to break down in just a moment what I'm looking at for the remainder of the year given the next 3 weeks of the month, right? But I know a lot of people were pissed off about this week's high resistance. Like almost every single day was just bullshit. But you have to understand, all of this was moving algorithmically. Jesus Christ, I can't speak. Guys, it was accumulation week of the entire 4 given quarters of the cycle, right? Every month is going to have a cycle. Now, when I was coming into the week initially, I didn't know what price was going to do, right? I needed to see signatures in price. Now, when we did put the weekly cycle SSMT between the expansion and accumulation days straight up off literally like weekly open price, I immediately thought this was going to be an expansion week. But price then started to give very shitty development coming into the remainder of the week, and coming into Wednesday and Thursday really refined that this week was accumulation week. So understanding this, right, we're now understanding that this entire week prior is accumulation phase. The next week's going to be manipulation. So what I wanted to talk about a lot was, what is our higher time frame doing in relation to manipulation next week, right? If we understand that our entire given 3-month Power of 3, right? I understood that the October low was going to get taken, but once this October low got taken and we put in that prominent Kraken correlation, we need to expect that the draw on liquidity now is technically our last month distribution phase. We're likely to get above these highs, okay? When we're likely to get above these highs, we know the draw on price is all-time high. Well, manipulation is always going to go opposing to this, right? So if it's going opposing, we're looking for signatures in reversal. We're looking for signatures. If it's going to be a manipulation week, it's likely to, what? Go against market, okay? So if this week was accumulation, we're pushing into manipulation week next week, I'm looking immediately for signatures of price of reversal. Now, what exactly are these signatures? Well, let's immediately break down. Coming into the way that we ended this week, okay, we are immediately super close to our previous month's high. I mean, look at ES. We're that close, okay? ES is about to sweep the previous month's high. YM hasn't gotten up there. I truly think the reason why we set up like this and we accumulated this entire week was because it was almost stalling in a sense of we're going to be ending the week above the original consolidation high for the 4-hour market maker buy model, but we are going to end right near the previous month's high so that we can have a cracking correlation with YM and send off lower. Now, lower meaning possible discount of the given range that we are in. We have the low of the month that we could possibly put in a new low of the month, right? Because this is technically only the first week. But look at how all the other assets are setting up, right? We're sitting in OTE right now on NASDAQ of the entire 3-month range. On top of the fact that ES being literally our most powerful asset because it's holding 500 blue chip stocks, if we have a cracking correlation between ES, it's a lot stronger than if YM does it. So seeing that ES could possibly take out our previous month's high in technically cracking correlation to NQ and YM, well, market could possibly reverse with other signatures and price. What YM is sitting at right now in our 4-hour TCISD, right? Reference to the all-time high sweep. This all-time high sweep, even though it was an all-time high cracking correlation, it was a monthly cycle bearish SSMT. When that occurred, obviously being on the 4-hour chart, we had a 4-hour TCISD, which we are currently sitting inside of right now. So YM is sitting in a 4-hour bearish TCISD, on top of the fact that ES is about to take the previous month's high, and on top of the fact that NASDAQ is sitting in an OTE range of our 3-month Power of 3 range. If we understand that next week's manipulation, this is exactly what I want to see, because all of these things are stacking right now, and everything's telling me if we open for our next week Power of 3 and we see prominent cracking correlations above weekly open, above true week open for possible open high low close development, I immediately know what my bias is going to be for the whole week, meaning every single day within that I'm looking for bearish displacement. Manipulation bullish, bearish displacement, right? So in regards to that, my 3-month Power of 3, I'm really thinking longs, right? Because we put in that prominent cracking correlation with YM underneath our 3-month open price. We took October's low last month coming into technically our fourth quarter, right? And now given our monthly Power of 3, I really think we're going to end the month off strong. Like very much higher highs above all-time high, right? Look at every single, now this is a personal study you guys have to do, look at every single December of every given year prior to this. I think like 4 years before today, every single December closed off strong at all-time high, right? It always tried to make higher highs because you guys have to think of it logically, right? Bigger banks, bigger institutions, they want to make the market look good at coming into a close, right? At the end of the year, they want to push it up. They want to make it look that the economy is doing very well. Now, does that mean it's doing well? Not necessarily, but they always do that, okay? It is like normal to see higher highs coming into December. And to see that we put in a new low underneath our 3-month low coming into November's close, that is such a strong manipulation. But understanding however big manipulation is, distribution tends to be greater. If I'm anticipating greater, higher highs, and coming into the month, let's see right here. Coming into the month, we already started right here in the middle of the range from this entire expansion back up for our technically our Q4 of November's range. If we open up right here with the likelihood of putting higher highs for the rest of December, I mean, this is literally telling everything that we need to know that, okay, price is likely to expand pretty high coming into December. And if December doesn't finish it, I bet you we're going to have expansion for our first quarter coming into next year. But I really think that December is going to do the pushing. So if December is likely to push us higher, we need to anticipate every single week to be in correlation with higher prices, meaning manipulation likely to be opposing. Doesn't mean the entire week has to be bearish. It just means we need to see a prominent displacement down as a manipulation, meaning possible, discount retracement, possible weekly cycle bullish SSMTs underneath and shit, like anything that really pushes price. I really think the low of the month is going to get taken, and we're probably going to have some type of crack and correlation down here and send price higher. Right? That's really what I'm looking for. And then obviously distribution and expansion, we're likely to see higher highs, right? Coming into expansion, the fourth week, we're likely to be exceeding higher highs. Not much of a reversal. But we'll see, I guess, when time comes, right? Let me read some of the things. Sorry about that. I gotta scroll up again. TGIF is in play after New York AM/PM closes in 20-30%. Yep. MMXM are always forming and completing. It's fractal and almost always present. Yep. How and when did you know to not trade on Thursday? Bozo, I see your message. How and when did you know not to trade? Given I did not press a button on Tuesday and Thursday. Reasons being is you need to be breaking down the understanding of narrative, right? If you understand what the narrative is likely to be the given day, and you understand what the bias is supposed to be, you're looking for lower time frame to be in correlation with that, such as the true opens, such as time frame alignment, right? Everything aligns in one way under an algorithm, under QT, under Power 3 and MMXM. If you have a narrative and there's signatures and price of opposing to that, I immediately know not to trade it, right? I'm trading from, this is now East, right? New York, New York time. I'm trading from 9:30 opening bell to usually like 11. That is like my time window. If I don't see anything, I'm usually just off the charts, right? Because I don't want to worry about sitting on the charts all day. That's not the job I signed up for. But understanding that I'm expecting bullish distribution for the original consolidation highs, I'm looking for signatures and price to send us higher. Now, off rip on morning open, we sold off into a discount. That's exactly what I wanted to see coming into Thursday's prices. I wanted a discount, cracking correlation, send us higher. Now, what was I looking for in signatures of bullishness? I was looking for all types of cracking correlations underneath given true opens, right? True day open, true session open, TMSO, all of these opening prices. I'm looking for cracking correlations underneath it. Now, there was a 4-hour power of 3 that was visible, 2 longs. Now, I think actually Fearing took that long, but it was at like 11:30. Now, you could see I was not on the charts. The second 11 o'clock hit, and I still did not like anything, I'm immediately off. So that's the thing. There was not a prominent bullish scenario until 11:30. So for me, 11 o'clock hits, there's nothing I like, I'm off. And what do you see? I mean, it's just straight up high resistance consolidation. When this is supposed to be high news driver Thursday distribution, you can see how this was straight up bullshit. So I saved myself a little bit of time by getting off the charts here. This is simply just managing your risk properly. Same thing with Tuesday. Tuesday, I knew what I wanted to see, but it was not pushing exactly how I expected it to play out. That's simply it. You build a narrative. You build an understanding of price. If nothing aligns together right, it's time and price. When they align, you press the button. If they don't align, you're not pressing a button. If you press a button, it's emotional trading, and then, well, you blow an account. Good luck. Let me read. Can you show where did you mark those ranges on this week? Yes, I can. So this entire week, is there dots? Yeah. So at the given time of Wednesday, when we were coming down into a discount, I was drawing it from the highest high to the, lowest low of the week. So that was the 50% right here. 50% of our previous range. Now, I did move this by accident. Let me see. There you go. Okay. I'm actually gonna clone this. I moved that by accident when I was fucking with the weekly cycle thing. Okay. 50% of our previous day, 25% of our entire weekly range. TGIF, 30% of our entire week. That was right here. All right. So, does anyone have any questions? You guys want me to cover anything, a specific day? My God, my leg is hurting, man. Nice water, man. So TGIF's job is to return to a percentage of the weekly range. Well, Kev, understand this. TGIF, thank goodness it's Friday. That's a smart money concept rule. But in the basis of quarterly theory, it wants to retrace as close as possible to the weekly open price. Now, there are obviously rules behind it. The day has to set up specifically to target this as a drawn price. But you can see True Week Open is underneath where 30% sits. And that's why I was looking for 30% as a retracement. Understanding breaking down the day, it was actually a beautiful AMD model too. We expanded, accumulated, manipulated, distributed, and then this slight expansion coming into market on close was simply the closing of our weekly power 3, right? We need a slight expansion back into the range to close. Do you use RTY? What is RTY? Unless I just forgot and I'm being stupid. Indice. Nope. It is straight E-mini Russell. No. So it's straight what's called NQ, ES, and YM. That is simply it. So the triad. The main ones, at least, with the greater blue chip stocks. What's a PRC? Heard it being mentioned. Okay, well, PRC, being a quarterly theory concept, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it. It's simply in my private mentorship. But PRC is, think of it like a quarterly theory order block. Think of it like that. It's a very strong order block, in a sense. Do you trade in the reaccumulation cycle of a MMXM? Well, if it falls into a given week, yes. But if it's coming into fractal, if it's a 15-minute, model or something, if it's a, sell side or buy side of the curve being the reaccumulation cycle, it's fine to trade. It's just you're not going to get as much Kraken correlation. So meaning you might have a lot of days where you're not participating in, especially if it does not align. Will this be on YouTube? No, it will not. It's not a long session. I bet you I'll probably close it up in 10-20 minutes. We covered majority of it. Also, how do you trade the original consolidation of a high time frame MMXM? You don't. Obviously, you can trade it intraday, right? There's going to be things behind it that will tell you bullish or bearish. But original consolidation, there's no really signature for that. It's going to happen, and then the second you see it happen, you're likely to understand what the entirety of the remaining is going to be. Because you can't predict a market maker model. The original consolidation is going to tell you that the likelihood of one starting is in play. Obviously, that pairs into the narrative, right? Are true opens stronger than regular opens or vice versa? I will definitely say that True Week Open has a, stronger... I don't even know how to word it. A stronger pull on price, simply in regards to quarterly theory. But weekly open and True Week Open still are very identical. And in order to see bullish or bearish power of 3 development, you're still looking at both of them. So such as if the weekly open had a Kraken correlation underneath for a bullish open low high close, but the True Week Open had no Kraken correlation, price isn't just going to send up for the weekly open Kraken correlation. No, it's going to reverse, give an additional Kraken correlation for the True Week Open, and then send. So it's they're almost very, very similar. Same thing with intraday, right? Lower time frame power 3, 30-minute power 3, 4-hour power 3, right? 10 a.m. opening price, 9:30 opening price. We know that coming into 9:30 opening price, TMSO is right there, but we have to use both. So if TMSO has a Kraken correlation, but 9:30 doesn't, actually referencing to it, literally this morning, we had a 30-minute devil's mark. TMSO was fine, right? But the 30-minute opening price, it was not. So we had an additional retrace, and that's actually where I took my long. Just, it shows you almost as a signature, significant highs and significant lows in the market. Meaning either draws on price, stop hunts, right? Those type of things. If ES takes out previous month high and NQ doesn't, is that an SSMT or just an SMT? It's just an SMT. There's no given SSMT between 2 consecutive months, as it jumps from yearly. Well, technically no. I think it's called like I don't even know how to say it. Cathedral or some shit. It's like 4-year Kraken correlations, but it goes from 4-year to 1 year to quadrennial. I don't know how to say it. 4-year to 1 year to 3-month to technically 4-hour. Yeah. Because it would be monthly cycles. So no month to month, but it is still a prominent Kraken correlation, because prominent Kraken correlations, such as just an SMT, but a significant SMT, is between significant highs and lows. And what's significant about it is its previous month's high. There's a like, that's like almost like a liquidity pool in a sense. How do you know when an SSMT is going to break if we don't have a significant Kraken correlation on the opposing side of the range? Wait, hold on. Am I reading this wrong, or am I just stupid? How do you know when an SSMT is going to break if we don't have a significant Kraken correlation on the opposing side of the range? Well, it's narrative, power of 3, right? And on top of that, it's always about Kraken correlations. So if you're going to be sending on either side of the market in regards to power of 3, it's either going to be bullish or bearish. That's the way it's going to close. Whatever bias it may be, let's say a bearish scenario, it's going to have a Kraken correlation above it. So in regards to, let's say it's targeting against the previous months, but the previous month does have a Kraken correlation, so it is a protected high. It's not exactly lining with what's happening with the given power of 3. So it's all about narrative, right? There's always going to be cycles on either side of the market. It all comes down to narrative. If the narrative is bullish, but there's a Kraken correlation, for example, there's obviously a Kraken correlation with YM right now at the all-time high. But the narrative for the 3-month power 3 is stating we're going to be pushing for all-time highs. So now, even though it was significant for this drop, it is now a draw in price. Meaning this SSMT, I give 0 shits about it, because I see it as a draw now. So it's just narrative. Can you deeper dive into 30-minute power 3 and 4-hour and how to better trade with? I mean, think of it, right? Power 3s, they're fractal. They're always going to need Kraken correlations. So, think of it like this. When you know your daily bias, let's say your daily bias is bullish, 9 times out of 10, the 30-minute and the 4-hour power 3, they're both going to align with that. They're going to be the similar narrative. Now, 30-minute power 3 sometimes could be stuck in manipulation phases. It could be opposing. But let's say reference to 4-hour. 4-hour power 3. If the daily narrative is open, low, high, close, meaning bullish, 4-hour is going to be the same. It's going to be open, low, high, close. All you're looking for is the 10 a.m. opening price. You're looking for a dip underneath, a prominent Kraken correlation to align with the narrative, and then target the same draws that the daily is going for. It's not as hard as people actually think it to be. Obviously, it's just basing it on lower time frame fluctuations, but you're still pairing the needed time frame alignment, the needed Kraken correlations. And once it all pairs up together, 10 a.m. open, you know where price is going to go. How do you frame your bias for 30-minute power 3, 4-hour power 3? 9:30 and 10, is it based off of Kraken correlations under key opens? Exactly. There's going to be given key opens, right? There's going to be true day, true session, TMSO. You need all of those to have a Kraken correlation above or below the market, depending on the bias. And then once a 9:30 open price opens or a 10 a.m. opens, if the other true opens already have the Kraken correlation needed, all you're really looking for is a small Kraken correlation underneath 10 a.m., underneath 9:30 open. I mean, it's going to run. So I can't just take any SSMT for bullish narrative. Not exactly, no. So that's something I talk a lot about in my private mentorship. I understand in the quarterly theory, I guess, genre or trading way in the regards to free content, right? People think you can just really use any SSMT given any time frame or any scenario. 4-hour power 3, 30-minute power 3, true day, true session, TMSO. They think they can use any given SSMT, which is something I'm not going to talk about, right? It's for private students, but there are specific cycles that you need given specific sure opens, and there's specific cycles you need to pair with specific cycles in order to press a button. There are specifics to quarterly theory, and now that's something you're just never really going to find in anybody's free content, because realistically that is how you refine the shit out of price. It's a big thing, but yeah, just know that you can't take any SSMT for any narrative. You need specific ones. Do you ever use limit orders or only market? Both. All depends. Makita, I see your message. I will talk to you after this. Snow, if I join the mentorship late in December, am I gonna miss all the stuff you're teaching in there right now? Not at all. I teach a lot right now, being that it is the first week, right? We do a lot of calls, pre-market analysis, post-analysis calls, and I go over a lot of stuff that I don't talk about here, primarily because it's paid, right? It's private. But there will be more and more stuff, and we will talk about stuff over and over again, given there's literally new students every single day. So I understand that. But nah, if you join late, it's entirely fine. How do you choose which SSMT holds like everything you want to see for a long, but there are one more lower SSMT to go up? Are you talking about which specific SSMT? Because that's something I can't talk about. Link in bio, that's crazy. Okay, guys. Any more additional questions? If not, I'm gonna end this off. I know it's a little bit early, but I mean, the call was like 40-ish minutes, so it's entirely fine. We covered the entire week. We covered the narrative, what I think is going to come for after. Let you guys type. Do you focus on MMXM so much that you look for them on the high time frame, then find them to match on the lower time frame? Exactly. So Eli, remember, MMXM is fractal like any other. Now there are specific time frames you have to reference to specific MMXM models, right? But in reference to obviously our 4-hour market maker model, go right here. Give me a second. Obviously, we had this 4-hour market maker model: original consolidation, first, second, reversal, low risk buy, first, second, complete. In this entire 4-hour market maker model, consisting of 4 weeks, 2 weeks for the sell side, 2 weeks for the buy side, in stages of redistribution and reaccumulation, there will be fractal MMXMs that you can use and utilize for narrative and trading off of. But I use it for narrative like literally every day. Like coming into this entire week, I understood what the bias was regarding to XAMD or AMDX. Like I knew, because it was just refining from MMXM. For the 4-hour power 3, would you look for a 15-minute Kraken correlation to validate your trade due to the time frame alignment? Well, in order for a 15-minute Kraken correlation to validate my trade, I'm going to need an additional lower time frame to then validate that, and it's going to have to be underneath the 10 a.m. opening price. But of course, is there reasons I can't see the pre-market outlook on your Discord? Pre-market outlooks is private. I think that's why. Just a separate section. For the low time frame MMXM, do you ever trade the smart money reversal, or do you wait for the silver bullet? No, I tend to trade it. I remember trading for Friday. For Friday's TGIF back up into the range, the weekly cycle at the lows we had, That was the smart money reversal for TGIF, and I traded that. I traded long on that. Is next week retracement going to be considered our first or second stage redistribution? I won't know until price starts to develop that. Only seeing that I don't exactly think that we are in a sell model right now. Obviously I can break this down and figure this out, but regarding to just simply the 4-hour chart or the 1-hour chart, I would not say we are in a sell model. I'm banned on WAP. Is there anything I could do to join the premium? I do it strictly on WAP. Get a new account probably. If you sign in with like a different email or have a VPN, it should let you. Probably just, make a VPN, make a new account. You'll be chilling. Alright guys, I'm gonna let you guys finish typing in here. And okay, so everyone just fucking lets it rip. Same time. Was that week an accumulation week for the monthly profile? Yes, it was. Do you think that we could be making a market maker buy model since we're looking for bearish activity next week? Possibly, yes. I'm going to need to see a sell-off. Understand, if we're expecting a market maker buy model, we're obviously going to get the sell side of the curve next week. I'm going to have to see signs of reaccumulation to state that. I can't just say right now that we're going to have a sell curve and a buy curve in the next 2 weeks, right? I don't have enough signatures and price to say that. That would just be gambling in a sense. Is there any chance that December can go to all-time high, consider low PA? Oh yeah, I think we're going to go a lot higher than all-time high. Alright guys, I'm going to end this up. Guys, I hope you had a wonderful week trading, okay? Managing that risk very well and properly. But you guys know, as always, I will see you guys at the top. Peace out.